Hello and welcome, I am Garion Reaver, and in this video I'll be showing you how to strip the paint off of plastic and metal models. This technique should also work for resin models, but they're a bit trickier. I've not personally tried with resin models, but maybe I can do another video on those if people want. All the techniques and equipment I use in this video are from an article on the Faux Hammer blog, which is linked in the description. I will be demonstrating the techniques here, but I recommend you go check out that blog for more detailed information. For this, I will be stripping the paint off of several plastic and metal Lord of the Rings models from Games Workshop. I painted these a long time ago and I'm no longer happy with the quality of the painting I did about 15 years ago. I want to strip the paint off so that I can repaint them but still preserve the detail. Painting over the top tends to dull the detail after a couple of coats. For this, you will need some special equipment, but nothing is too expensive or awkward. First of all is an old towel on which to do the stripping. This towel will get stained, but it will protect your table. The most important thing, and the most dangerous, is this. Isopropyl alcohol, or IPA, 99.9% pure. It is dangerous stuff. Don't inhale the fumes if you can possibly avoid it, don't leave it in direct sunlight, and definitely don't drink it. But it is the best for easily stripping the paint off your models. You'll also need a plastic container in which to submerge the models. A Chinese food carton like this one is perfect. It must be able to seal as airtight as possible to minimize fume loss from the IPA. You'll need a pair of gloves to protect your hands. Form-fitting latex gloves can work, allowing more precision, but standard rubber gloves will do the job too. The black stains on these are from previous paint stripping. You'll also need brushes. Here I have a toothbrush and a set of pipe brushes. The variety of sizes is good for getting the tricky bits of paint off. The fumes from the alcohol are quite a hazard, so safety gear is advised. You should do this in the most ventilated room of your house, which is why I'm in my kitchen, and preferably with a respirator mask like this one. Having tried both with and without this mask, I can say that it is much better with. The fumes are very dangerous, and this almost completely protected me. The last thing for the actual stripping is this container. You partially fill it with IPA to wash your brushes. An empty spice jar is perfect, which is what I'm using. Once you've finished stripping models, you can then reclaim the alcohol for use in the future. To stop any paint from contaminating the supply, you can use a funnel and a coffee filter to sift out impurities. And that is all you should need. Most of the things are described and even linked in the Faux Hammer article, so you can check that out for alternatives and sources. The first thing you do is partially fill the carton with IPA. It must be deep enough to submerge the models you want to strip. Laying the models on their sides is obviously helpful for this. One mistake I made here is putting in too many models at once. Start off slow, maybe 2 or 3 in your first try. Then put the lid on to keep the alcohol from evaporating. Try to avoid getting any on your skin, but if you do, you should definitely wash your skin afterwards. Now's the easy part. You need to leave them to soak for 20 to 40 minutes to allow the IPA to loosen the paint. 40 minutes later, now is when you need the ventilation. Seriously, this is dangerous stuff. Open windows, close doors into the rest of your house, and put on the respirator mask if you have one. Pour some IPA into the brush washing container and seal that too. Retrieve the first model you'll be cleaning. I'll start with the metal Captain Boromir. Using the toothbrush, simply begin scrubbing the model. Be careful of thin parts such as weapons that may bend or snap. Dip your brush in the IPA every now and then to make the scrubbing easier. As you may be able to see, the paint is coming off very easily. Depending on what you use to undercoat it, the base coat might be harder to shift. Sprayed paint tends to stick more firmly than hand undercoated, and different companies' products will vary. Some of these models were undercoated by hand, some by spray, but they were all done using Games Workshop's black paint. After about 4 minutes of brushing, the model is almost completely back to its base metal. It was harder to get the black out of the folds of the cloak, but as they'll probably be black anyway, I'm not too worried. That said, you can resubmerge the model if you want to try and weaken the paint further. Next up is a plastic Minas Tirith Archer. Plastic is obviously weaker than metal, so take extra care not to accidentally snap bits off. The way I stripped the bow was to place it flat against the towel and brush along it. That way it wouldn't bend or snap. The brushing was also noticeably more effective when the brush was wet with IPA, so regularly dip it in the small container. After just a few minutes, most of the raised areas were back to plastic. For some reason, the blue on the cloth bit was incredibly hard to shift. While the toothbrush is best for raised areas, the pipe brushes are brilliant for smaller, tighter gaps. On a lot of the models, I got this dark, smeary look. I think I wasn't using enough IPA on the brush, but the detail is still clearly visible. I can undercoat over the smears. You can see here how quickly the paint comes off when brushed. The longer a model is left submerged, the easier it comes off. However, it is possible they could be damaged if left in too long, but I don't know for certain. The IPA supposedly also breaks down superglue. I did have a model come off its base in my test before the video, but none came off in this batch. It's likely I used a plastic glue or something for these models rather than superglue. With very little work, the models can be left almost perfectly clean with no paint gunk or real mess. Just stains on the gloves and towel. I had another go at the metal Boromir. The extra soaking time clearly made a difference as he was a lot shinier afterwards. Still black in the creases, but the detail was preserved for the next painting. None of these models were varnished. I don't actually know how varnish would affect the paint stripping. As you can also see, my dipping IPA has discoloured greatly over the course of the session. It also suffered the greatest loss of volume, both from it going on my brush and from evaporation, as I had to leave it open in order to dip the brush into it. I'm very pleased with how quickly Denethor cleaned up. He'd been in for about 80 minutes by the time I got to him, but the paint came off very easily. He was back to base metal in just over a minute. Once I'd finished stripping all the submerged models, it's time to reclaim the alcohol. I put the funnel into the IPA bottle, put the coffee filter into the funnel, and poured in the used IPA. It takes some time to drain, but the filter catches most if not all of the contaminants. Overall, the models that had soaked longer were easier to scrub, and when the brush was wet with IPA, the result was a lot cleaner with less of the dark smearing. I'm still new to paint stripping, so I expect my technique will improve as I continue. I've got a lot of old models to clean for repainting. Thank you very much for watching. Check out the Faux Hammer article linked in the description, as I wouldn't have known how to do this without it. Let me know if you want to see more painting related videos in the future. Apologies if the quality wasn't amazing with this, it is the first IRL video I've recorded like this. And please subscribe for more miniatures content, and I will catch you later.